Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It's a Friday, final Sports Daily of the year 2023. Glad to be with you. Welcome in. Jacob Albracht here alongside Tommy Castor, Jad Chambers back in producing for us. What a year it's been, right? I don't have any year in review, stereotypical last show of the year kind of stuff ready for you. But if you have anything that you want to talk about, favorite sports story perhaps of 2023, least favorite, things you want to let go of. I saw yesterday was Good Riddance Day. We can do a little of that too on the IHOP hotline. 869-1240 is the number to call for you to get in touch with us on the program. Today we'll have some HTO to give away today. We'll have some football picks to make today with Paul Savage in the second hour. And coming up in just a little bit, perfect timing for Wyatt Thompson, voice of the K-State Wildcats, off of a Pop-Tarts Bowl win and what we'd hoped for, which is that the fan base is buzzing after the game about what the future could look like. Really nice unofficial debut for Avery Johnson. Really nice job by Connor Riley with the offense. I suspect we'll see him get that job at some point in the very near future. K-State gets a win over NC State. They really offensively did kind of what they wanted to do. Remember, they had two long plays called back. A good performance. Avery Johnson, 178 through the air with a couple touchdowns, 64 on the ground with a touchdown, and it almost felt like they held him back running the ball just to some degree. DJ Giddens was really good. And I thought the defense, Tommy, fared pretty well. The most impressive thing was the adjustment they made after the first half when K-State or NC State's quarterback was running wild on them. So good game for K-State, exactly what we wanted to see out of the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and it builds the momentum I think that we wanted to see heading into next season.
Yeah, I mentioned it yesterday on the program that really the key to victory, I thought, for the Wildcats would be to establish with DJ Giddens able to do that. Giddens had a great game round, broke off a couple of really big runs, and that was able to let Avery Johnson settle in a little bit. And I think that was really important for a young freshman quarterback, his first career start in a bowl game, the quarterback of the future. Make him a little bit more comfortable back there under center. If you can get a solid run attack with DJ Giddens, they were able to do that. They ran it early. They ran it often. And then Avery Johnson, we know his dynamic ability in running the football. He broke off a couple of nice runs that were more than 10 yards throughout the course of the game. And then, I don't think he threw the ball that great, but he didn't need to throw the ball that great. I think that part of his game will continue to develop. It will come along once he is able to get in and be the established starter of this team. But I'm with you. Overall, it was basically exactly what we wanted to see from Kansas State.
I think he did throw the ball pretty well, and I know his completion percentage is going to be down on that.
Like 45% completion.
But when you consider how many balls he threw away because nothing was there, which was at least 5 or 6, and I may be underselling that, it would be much better. He just wasn't taking unnecessary risk, which you would expect a young quarterback to do. That will serve him well because and I don't know what the pass catchers will look like, and they may still be able to go get some more of them. But I think what people saw is how effortlessly he can throw the ball and does throw the ball. And he made good decisions with a new offensive coordinator. Those are all things I think that, and that's look, the broadcast crew yesterday, I thought was phenomenal. And Andre Ware, what a perfect guy to have on the call, right? With Avery Johnson getting a quarterback. They were really impressed with what they saw. And it's interesting. I didn't know how much to expect the local lore of Avery Johnson that we have to bleed over nationally, but it's totally there. You saw it on social media all night where everyone's like, whoa, Avery Johnson. And you've got, eyeball emojis and all of these different things. And people that really follow the sport were really into what was happening with him. So that makes the attention's going to be there next year. There's no doubt about it. And I thought with all that attention and with everything on there, and that's exactly what you want to see. What you didn't want to see were bad decisions. Again, I think that they didn't want him or let him run probably as much as he could have or would like to. He could have run more. He could have run 4 more. He could have done it more. He didn't. And that feels like it was kind of by design. We just got barely a little appetizer of what he can do on the ground. We saw it on a couple of plays where you're just like, oh, yeah, that's right.
And he didn't need to. And there was the presence of DJ Giddens that really softened up the defense. And it gets me really excited to think about that duo going into next season and the way defenses are going to have to game plan for DJ Giddens, who has established himself as, in my opinion, one of the top backs in the Big 12 going into next season. You've got his ability, but then defenses also have to stay honest, and they've got to make sure that, Avery Johnson doesn't break one off too. So you've got a lot of different ways that, this offense can be designed next season. That's why it very well could be Connor Riley. They could go out and they could hire an offensive coordinator if they decide to do that and go that route. I think it's a pretty attractive job in Manhattan because of the talent, even though they lost some of the offensive linemen to graduation, Cooper Beebe and others that are not going to be back. Even though I wouldn't say their wide receiver room is incredible by any means, I do think they have enough talent on the offensive side of the ball that if they decide to go outside of the walls of that building to hire an offensive coordinator, it should be a fairly attractive job, I would think, for a lot of people that would want to do that and work with Avery Johnson and DJ Giddens.
That offensive line was dominating last night. Yeah. I mean, that stood out to me. And the offensive line play doesn't always stand out. Man, they were steamrolling. And that will be sorely missed, big time. And I know they've got good players coming in, but that experience, all of it will be missed. It will help, A, that Avery Johnson moves around in the pocket so effortlessly. He has a good sense for those things. And B, he can run. So he'll bail the offensive line out, I think, to some degree. The offensive line is not going to come in at the beginning of next year and look like that offensive line looked yesterday. I mean, they were fantastic. And Cooper Beebe's as good a college football story as you could ever have or want. The guy's, graded as, by most accounts, the top guard in the country. He's a top player. I don't know where that means he'll get drafted. I assume in the first or second round. And he loves college football, and he loves Kansas State, and he loves his teammates, and he loves his coaches. He's everything about the old guard of college football that you want to see. Return to play with his brother. All those awesome things. And I think it's fantastic. And I love seeing it. And I love seeing after the game, anytime anybody tries to talk about him, they get choked up. That's how much he's meant. He's going to be in their Ring of Honor. That matters to him. That matters to a lot of players. Some players have too much on the line for that. I get it. I don't fault any player that decides not to play to pursue their dreams of the NFL, because in reality, that game doesn't mean anything to their legacy at K-State, but it can certainly add to it. I don't think it takes away. And so I love seeing guys like Cooper Beebe play in a game like that and just let it all hang out. And the other part of it is that will still happen for players. You're going to have NIL change and evolve and do the things it's going to do. And probably at some point, as we, revolutionize this postseason of college football and organize an NIL, it's going to say, hey, you got to play in the bowl game, right? That's a part of this agreement. You got to play in the bowl game. And that's fine. But it was good to see that. You love seeing it for him. One of the all-time great K-Staters. There's no question about it. Part of Kleiman's first class. He's been through all of it with Kleiman. Just a really cool thing to see. And just, that when like bowl games are awesome for if you follow if you have a team participating in it, right? For everybody else, they're just like, it's the Pinstripe Bowl. Who cares? But it still matters to the fan bases, even if it's an exhibition game. That's what I do like about bowl season. I just don't like consuming it from the outside when it doesn't, involve a team I like. But man, what a great game for K-State. Wyatt Thompson's going to have a lot to say about it, and a lot of these players and what he saw. We'll get with him. The voice of the Wildcats joins us next on Sports Daily, final edition of 2023.
Your new radio home for K-State Athletics, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. It's that time, Sports Daily, getting all the inside information on Kansas State. Let's go now to the voice of the Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson.
And it'll be abbreviated with Wyatt as the travel plans make it so. Wyatt, good morning. Happy post-Pop-Tarts Bowl day, last Sports Daily of the new year. Let's start here and keep it simple in our limited time. What was your favorite thing about the Pop-Tarts Bowl?
I think probably just happy for the guys. I know there were a lot of plays we could point to and a lot of individual things, but what made it so special for me was that in visiting with Coach Kleiman briefly this morning, all of the things that had gone on with the program over the last month, and to come out and perform like that and beat what I thought was a really good football team is very, very rewarding. I think I would certainly start with that.
Wyatt, everybody's going to talk about Avery Johnson and for good reason, and him being able to take the reins of this program as the quarterback into next season. I thought yesterday was a great start to that, but I want to focus for a second on DJ Giddens. The guy was phenomenal yesterday, and I think enters into next season as one of the best running backs in the Big 12. How impressed were you by his performance, and what do you think from him we can expect moving forward?
He is just such a complete football player now. And what I like too is in postgame with us last night, he talked about some of the things that he can work on in the offseason to get even better. He's a very driven young guy. He's strong. He put together a really good season. And I'll put it into perspective this way. And I think you guys will agree with this. I think Devin Neal is one of the best running backs in the country. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. DJ Giddens had more all-purpose yards than he did this year. Not by much, but a little. He was over 1,500, and Neal was right at 1,500. So that's pretty impressive because of his ability to run inside and out, run with toughness, his ability to catch the ball. Following Deuce Vaughn, I don't know that anybody saw this coming. Couldn't be more proud of that guy. He's tough.
Well, Avery Johnson delivered, Wyatt. Everybody's talking about it. We sort of hoped for it coming in. He showed us all the things we wanted to see, including some, really responsible decision-making. What was your take on the young quarterback?
I loved about everything he did. When there was nothing there, he threw it away, didn't really force anything. They didn't put him necessarily in harm's way in the play calling. I think they will run him a lot more in quarterback run game stuff moving forward, but you can't really do it last night just because you don't really have a second quarterback that is all that ready to go. I think when you go back to the preparation for the month, the quarterback coach change with Colin, same with the offensive coordinator to Connor Riley, and then have him perform like that on that stage, I thought he minimized mistakes, maximized his opportunities on plays. And, at the end of the day, when he had time to get his feet set, he threw some rockets out there, guys, and was pretty much on target. He short-armed a couple on the run, but he's only going to get better at that. We've talked about him all year long, and I can't say enough about how the kid has handled this and how he performed last night. It's just amazing.
Wyatt, I thought the offensive line looked amazing too. And then obviously the final game for Cooper Beebe as a K-State Wildcat, but that offensive line play, you obviously have to give a ton of credit to Connor Riley, even before being named the offensive coordinator for this bowl game, for what he was able to do in developing that offensive line. I think overall, when you look at the way that offensive line played, and then just the output offensively in the bowl game, I think Connor Riley has just as good of a shot as anybody to be the next offensive coordinator for this team. Were you sold on what he did yesterday?
Oh, for sure. I think when you look at North Carolina State and give them their due credit in what they've been all year long, and then with K-State rushing for nearly 260 yards against that bunch, that's quite impressive in every way. And the offensive line is the strength of the team and has been for, all of this season, really, in terms of all of those guys coming back, led by BB, but those 3 6-year guys. And then, of course, you throw Hadley Panzer in there. And then even Carver Willis and Taylor Portier, the kid from Bishop Miege, those guys played a lot of football too. They're a very together group. And I think when you combine the leadership that those guys brought to the forefront and what they did with Coach Riley and just offensively in general, really proud of those guys. Those guys, I think K-Staters will remember those fellas in particular, Coop, for quite some time.
Let's talk about Riley real quick, Wyatt. That was sort of the audition there. How do you think it went?
I thought it went really well. And visiting with him briefly on and off air, I think it went about as well as you could possibly expect it to go. There's a lot of things behind the scenes, I suppose, that a lot of people may not know necessarily, but he credited Josh Buford working with the quarterbacks, and in particular Avery through the last several weeks here when Colin made the decision to go to Texas A&M, and that was important. He also talked about the job that Clint Brown, who's an offensive analyst, did also to help him out. And he even admitted on the air with us that there were a couple of things that NC State did in terms of pressures that were even more than the level he was expecting, and he had to adjust to that. And I think, K-State continued to grind. It wasn't very pretty in the third quarter. They didn't get a lot done, yet they continued to just fight and grind and just made enough plays and were much better in the fourth quarter with the game on the line. And I think he should get some credit for that. No question about it.
All right, final thing, Wyatt, because we know you got to travel. For me, out of this game, I hoped that the buzz would be there, similar to the way it is against KU. When you watch, K-State last night, KU, how much fun is a hopefully healthy Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal versus Avery Johnson and DJ Giddens in two teams that will very likely be competing for a Big 12 championship and by and large through that, a CFP berth.
It's a great point, isn't it? Because who saw maybe 9-4 coming for both of these teams? I mean, you could maybe say K-State, that could have been expected, being the defending champions, but for KU, they had a really great year, and I think the future is certainly bright. And I think overall, the Big 12 has done really, really well, and I'm proud of that too. It's been a good year in the league, and I think Arizona clearly is going to be a pretty good ad, among others. So onward we go, but what a way to finish it off.
Arizona sending Oklahoma State out the door with a swift kick. Wyatt, safe travels. Let's do this again next week. We can have more on that. We've had more time to digest it. And as we look ahead to the start of the Big 12 basketball season, have fun today, rest up, and we'll talk soon.
Sorry, I had to cut you a little bit short, guys, but I thank you, and we'll talk next week. Go Cats.
Understandable. There goes Wyatt Thompson, was on the call last night with K-State as they beat NC State, and all the buzz we hoped for, Tommy, is now there. And I cannot wait for what next football season brings. And Arizona is going to have something to say about it, as are some of the new Pac-12 schools, as is, Oklahoma State and all the teams in the Big 12 faring very well right now in bowl season. KU and K-State are going to be right there with any of them. I mean, they have to be.
Yeah, Arizona is really good. They're a really good football team, and they're really, really well coached. Didn't watch a ton of them early in the season, but when they started making some noise, getting ranked in the top 25, I really kind of locked in a little bit more to what that program was doing under Jed Fish. And keep in mind, Arizona, they were ranked 14th going into this bowl game. Undoubtedly, they'll finish the year higher than that, considering they won the Alamo Bowl last night. But keep in mind, the conference that they played in this year, the Pac-12, really good. It's a really good conference this year with Washington and Oregon and, of course, Utah and others in that conference. and they're going to finish maybe as a top 10 team in the country. They might be right around that 10 mark when the final poll comes out after bowl season is all said and done. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Big 12. So I'm excited about them. I'm excited about Utah coming in. And then, you mentioned KU and K-State. Oklahoma State's going to be in the mix. I wouldn't be surprised to see a team like West Virginia be back up there this year. Texas Tech potentially back up there, TCU back up there. I think it's going to be a really good conference next season.
It is. It's going to be good. And it'll be good timing too, because it will be important next year that you get it right and that it comes out with a bang. The league does, and the new 12-team playoff. Who knows, maybe you can find a way to get 2 teams in, which would be awesome. And there will be years where that happens. Next year would be great. I mean, imagine a world, Tom. And again, like, we say these things. I'm not saying they're likely. I'm not saying they're going to happen. I'm not, nothing crazy like that. But there's totally a world next year where K-State and KU end up in the top 12.
Sure. And there absolutely is.
One beats the other, obviously. And maybe they split games because they'll play in the regular season and then potentially. But that is the reason why this is going to make college football so much better all across the country, because there's a lot of teams that feel like that. Right now, we can go into every season, and I think we did it this year, and say, yeah, they got a good chance to maybe win the Big 12, but they're not going to get into they're not getting in the CFP. I mean, these things, right? That's out the window now. And I don't think that the committee is going to come in and do something outrageous like 6 SEC teams and 6 big, when the dust settles on this. I know they're not allowed to right out of the gates, but that's not going to happen. And we're going to see a re-energized country for college football like we've never seen before. Take a team like UNLV the other night. They win the Mountain West. They have a really good year. You got a fan base that has a chance to go put them up against everybody. And they may get smashed in those games. Who cares? Who cares? They're in. Does a fan base of a 15 or a 16 seed or maybe a 10 seed or whatever in the NCAA basketball tournament, are they any less excited about getting there because they know they're going to get smashed in the first round?
No, they're showing up. They're showing up. They're excited. They're excited to be there. We know that there is historical nature of those teams upsetting some of the big dogs and the blue bloods and all of that. That's why those small fan bases travel. That's why those, smaller schools that get in the conference champions or whatever, that's why they get so excited about it. From a football perspective, you don't have to get to number 4 anymore. You just have to get to number 12. That's all you have to do. And so I think that it is well within the realm of possibility that once the preseason polls come out for next season, that both KU and K-State are ranked in the top 25. Now, I don't exactly know where that's going to land. We might be looking at both of those teams between 20 and 25, but that's okay. I think both of them are going to be right around that spot. And then you get through your non-conference, hopefully unscathed. You start playing Big 12 opponents, and you start to rack up some wins. Maybe you have the capability of dropping one conference game. Maybe it's the Sunflower Showdown. I don't exactly know. But I think that considering that, I think both of these teams more than likely will be ranked when the first preseason poll comes out next year. All you got to do is get to number 12. That's all you have to do. And then you're in. Then you get a chance to compete for a national championship. It's significantly more likely that it happens starting next season than ever before. And that's why these fan bases are going to be so excited about it.
I can't wait. And that's what I hoped more than anything else out of bowl season, is that we would have this kind of buzz going into next year. And we get it with both of these programs. And I just can't wait for it. And I think we expected it with KU. I think we hoped for it with K-State because of Avery Johnson, but K-State's going to lose a lot, and they're going to have a lot to turn over, and they're going to have a lot to come back. I said this before. All of this buzz before, during, and after the game around Avery Johnson, I would suspect will be a big help to K-State in the transfer portal. And now the work begins, and it was probably already underway for them to just go, hey, you want to come play with this kid? You want to come be a pass catcher for us? You want to come block for this kid? Come be a part of a defense? He can lead us to a CFP. Come on over. Let's get this done. And
And
it will
before
help.
anybody says that, well, Kansas State is losing a lot, so they're probably not going to be ranked in the preseason poll. Look at who they do have coming back, right? Watch the bowl game from yesterday. And I know they're losing pieces in that offensive line and they've lost pieces defensively and all of that. If Kansas State had lost the game, then okay. I think it might be a little bit more unlikely that they start next season in the top 25. But I think it's going to be tantalizing for voters to say, you know what? If we're going to put up this team against any other potential team that could be in the top 25, the potential is there on the table. And keep in mind that Kansas State has a really solid recruiting class coming in next year. So I think all those things combined, if I were a voter, I would absolutely vote both of these teams in the preseason top 25 for next year.
Yeah, they'll be real close. They'll be really, really close. I'm trying to think of where I'd vote them in the Big 12 right now.
I'd probably vote them two
of the top three. Two of the top three,
2 and 4,
yeah.
something like that. I mean, just from watching the Alamo Bowl last night, and I'm not an expert on what they have coming back and what that looks like. But I mean, if they have any kind of the same team next year as they do this year, I think Arizona will probably be the trendy pick to win the Big 12. But man, then I'm probably putting Kansas at number 2. Gosh, maybe. I don't know what West Virginia is bringing back next year. They finished really strong. Maybe them or Oklahoma State at number 3, and then maybe Kansas State at number 4.
State. Yeah, they'll be a part of that top end conversation. That's all. And it doesn't matter.
But it would not surprise me one bit if the Jayhawks end up picked second in the Big 12 preseason polls. I mean, because of all of the returning production that they have coming back next year.
There will be people to vote them 1 and or 2. Like they'll each, I think, get first place votes. They'll each get second place votes. Where they end up finishing in it, I don't know. But it's going to be a blast. Can't wait for it. So happy we get that coming out of bowl season, and we do get it for both programs. All right. Here's a tease for you. We're going to come back and check in on Tommy's crotch because apparently he's had a little accident at home here.
I was like, wait, what are we talking about?
Hey, on the video stream. Hey, everybody. No, Tommy has you've spilled hot coffee all over yourself? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, right when the show was starting, I knocked over my cup of coffee into my lap. And so I've been frantically trying to clean that up while doing a radio show. Multitasking at its finest, everybody.
We'll let you get that taken care of. We'll come back. More Sports Daily right after this. Tommy? Did you get things settled in down there?
I'm good. Yeah, I got it all cleaned up. I had to clean myself up, but then I have all this equipment, to do this radio show, microphones and computers and things like that. And I was frantically trying to make sure that, nothing shorted out or whatever, because that would not have been good. So I'm okay. For now, I made myself another cup of coffee, but it is out of arm's reach right now because I clearly cannot be trusted with having it anywhere close to me.
I'm impressed. Tommy spilled hot coffee all over himself right off the top of the show. Unexpected spills are one of the things that for me is like instant white hot anger, like immediate and like just unnecessary. And it doesn't last very long, but just like rage, because now you have to adjust everything you were trying to do and get that cleaned up.
Well, the problem too is that I've got a live microphone. So if that was the way that I reacted, then I probably, not only would this be the final show of 2023, it'd be probably my final show ever. So I had to restrain myself and not say what I wanted to.
We'll have some picks coming up with Paul Savage in just a little bit. I appreciate everybody who stayed up late with me last night on CBS Sports Radio till 1 a.m., including Tommy, who jumped in to talk a little Chiefs football and the fandom. So Tommy came in and sort of talked about what we talk about a lot here locally, which, I think for a lot of people around the country, you don't get inside baseball when you follow these teams. You just get a bird's eye view. And I do think that it's interesting. The narrative in the show last night switched to Eric Bieniemy a lot more than I expected it to. And then it sort of became a discussion again about Eric Bieniemy and what he's done and why he hasn't done X, Y, or Z. But clearly that the team needs that fire and that energy and they miss him. But we went through things and there were a lot of like, no way moments. Like when you tell people like, hey, did you know that the Chiefs have allowed the second fewest yards and the second fewest points per game this season? The only defense in football who's allowed fewer points per game than the Chiefs right now, and it's a very small margin, is the Ravens. That's it. That's how good the Chiefs defense can be. That it reopens things, and they've got a chance this weekend to go up against one of football's great players in Jamar Chase, who has let it fly yesterday. I don't know if you heard some of us. That's fine. I'm okay with it. He did that last year too. I don't mind trash talk. I think a couple of things. When I'm doing competitive things, I enjoy to trash talk. I think it's a part of the competitive fun. I like talking a little smack. Now, would I do it if I was a pro athlete? Probably not in the locker room, but on the field, oh yeah. I all day long, baby, because it's a part of it. It's like this psychological thing you can do while you're playing. And so Jamar Chase is just basically, he gave L'Jarius Sneed a lot of credit and then basically said he wasn't worried about anything else with the Chiefs defense and basically invited him to hang that up on their locker room wall. So look, the champs are down a little bit and people are going to take their shots. It's open season. And, you just keep hoping that like the old Chiefs will show up. The old Chiefs would have never put up with something like that. I'm not sure the new Chiefs have a choice, but the defense does. And the defense needs to shut him down, and they can.
Well, it's psychology. I mean, it's a big part of the game. It's a big part of why Michael Jordan was as great as he was, because he knew the psychology of trash talk. I don't ever have a problem with it. I heard what Jamar Chase said. I kind of rolled my eyes and chuckled a little bit, but it didn't make me mad. He's got every right to say that. Anybody ever, like, they always have a right to say whatever they want to. It's a matter of whether or not they can back it up when push comes to shove. And up until this point, when Jamar Chase has talked, he has not backed it up against the Chiefs. So if he wants to continue to talk, that's great. Now would be a good time, I think, out of all the times for him to talk trash, to actually do so, because it's going to be a question mark about whether or not the Chiefs will be able to respond in the best way possible to those words. But I want to go back real briefly about Eric Bieniemy. One thing about the Chiefs fan base where I do get frustrated, and I am a Chiefs fan, but I do get frustrated with the fan base, is that I remember the narrative a year ago, 2 years ago, however long it's been, when Eric Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator, about how tough he was on the players and about how, he can't be that tough and it's not working and it's ruining the chemistry, and he's so hard on Mahomes and he's so hard on these players. But then he leaves. Matt Nagy takes over as offensive coordinator. Now the narrative is, well, Matt Nagy's not holding these guys accountable, and he's not, he's just deferring to Andy Reid. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't in one sentence say that Eric Bieniemy is too tough and then say Matt Nagy is not tough enough. You cannot have it both ways. So which one is it going to be? And right now, we're in a world where you've got Matt Nagy, who is a completely different personality than Eric Bieniemy is. And I do think that plays into some of the struggles that they've had in discipline this year.
I agree. I remember Washington's players, like, you had the report that they were fed up with Bieniemy early in the year because he was being too hard on them. I think that ultimately is why Bieniemy has not gotten a head coaching job. That question came up a lot last night. I think it's because his style, I think, executives and owners fear that his style will not translate, but there still has to be some level of accountability. And, Matt Nagy has been with Andy Reid for a long time. Didn't work in Chicago, has not worked this year. And I'm not going to tell a guy how to coach. I'm sure he's a very smart coach. But right now, the team needs something different. And I think that's why we're seeing Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce try to do that, because they know it. They know the team needs that. But it's not coming from the coaching staff, at least not publicly and not outwardly. So we'll see. They've got a chance to finish strong here. And again, I keep saying the same thing, but I think it more and more every day. More than anything over the last two games, I want to see him change the way that they play. And I know they have injury issues in the running back room, but man, I don't care. Like, lean into what is a good interior offensive line, a really good interior offensive line. Lean into what is an elite level defense, run the ball, take the air out of it to some degree, right? And just see if you can make it through a game mistake free and just see what happens. And maybe it is a 17-7 win, but that's okay. What's going to propel them to their ultimate level this season. That's what they need to be this season right now. Now, in the postseason, if they need a little something extra and they get a little mojo back, that's fantastic. That's great. But they have 2 weeks to redefine themselves and correct the issue that has been there basically every week, but one that I can remember against the Bears, where they have had an offense that makes too many mistakes. And so don't wait to the postseason to do that. Take these 2 weeks and just see what happens.
Yeah, I said it the other day. I wouldn't care one bit if the Chiefs only score 14 offensive points in the game on Sunday against the Bengals, as long as it means that they're not turning the ball over, as long as it means they're not giving the Bengals defensive touchdowns and, making those kinds of mistakes and interceptions and fumbles and self-inflicted penalties and dropped passes and all of that. Because I think that the defense for Kansas City is at a level to be able to compensate for the offensive struggles. They've done it multiple times this season. The defense has kept the team in the game. So if they only score 2 touchdowns, 14 points, 17 points, whatever that looks like, that's okay with me as long as they're playing a clean game. Patrick Mahomes is playing a clean game. They hold on to the football. They don't shoot themselves in the foot. I do also want to float a little scenario out there. You talked about it not working with Matt Nagy, and I know that Andy Reid is a loyal kind of guy. But Dan Israel, when we talked to him on Tuesday, he brought up an example of Andy Reid cutting a guy loose when it wasn't working anymore, and that was Bob Sutton, to bring in Steve Spagnuolo on defense. Andy Reid has done that before, even though he is a very loyal guy. Is it likely that Andy Reid moves on from Matt Nagy? I mean, I don't know. It's his first year as the offensive coordinator. I could see Andy Reid wanting to give him a little bit more time. But if he does make that change, I'm just going to float a name out there that has been dropped a lot in different scenarios. Cliff Kingsbury is still not coaching anywhere right now. He was Patrick Mahomes' college coach. Could he come in and be the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs? Would that work? Would that be successful to re-team him up with Patrick Mahomes? Is it likely? Probably not. They're probably going to stick with Matt Nagy for another year, I would think. But if Andy Reid does decide to make a change, I think that's one name to keep an eye on.
100% agree. Now, what's interesting about that is Mahomes mentioned in a press conference some things he did at Texas Tech that he has cleaned up in the NFL to make himself better, that he's reverting back to. I wouldn't read too much into that. Andy Reid has mentioned Cliff Kingsbury personally when he talks about people he's taken elements of his offense from, and it was Kingsbury back in the day. So, yeah, that would be good. I don't know what they do with Nate. I think it's far more likely they just get ultra and probably overcompensating aggressive at wide receiver in the offseason in some capacity, in some way, whatever it is they end up doing. But I don't want to start thinking about next season for a team that's going to win a division, possibly get a home game or two. There's still a chance, Tommy, that they get the 2 seed in the AFC. They didn't do themselves any favors, but look at what Miami has coming and what the Chiefs have coming. Just based on the schedule, as Miami gets, Baltimore and Buffalo to finish the year, they could lose both of those games. And the Chiefs, what do the Chiefs get? The Bengals and the Chargers, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, the 2 seed's still in play. So I'll present this scenario, which is not far-fetched to you at all. This is not a far-fetched scenario. The Dolphins lose the next 2, Baltimore and Buffalo. The Chiefs win the next 2. The Chiefs come out and they just play really outstanding defense in the next 2 games. Would you feel the same level of desperation in that scenario as the 2 seed for the Chiefs as you do currently?
No, because of the opponent that they would potentially be facing as the number 2 seed. I have a lot of concern right now if they are the 3 seed or even the 4 seed, because you're looking at potentially taking on Buffalo again. You're looking at maybe potentially taking on Cleveland. I'm not sure I want to take on the Joe Flacco Cleveland Browns after what we've seen from Flacco in the last few weeks. So I do have a level of concern if Kansas City ends up as the 3 or 4 seed. If they can get to number 2, then you're looking at what? Maybe them playing the Jags. Like that might be one of the potential teams. Maybe the Bengals again, if the Bengals can get into the playoffs as what would that be? The 6th seed. So I think that you feel a little bit better about it if they can find their way into the number 2 seed. But it's going to take the bad thing about it for Kansas City is that it's not really totally in their hands. Yeah, they have to win out, but they need some help from Miami too if they want to get into that number 2 seed.
Oh, for sure. And look, Buffalo's a team I wouldn't want to play either, but remember that Kansas City had them beat, if not for an offside by Kadarius Toney. So, I mean, I don't think
wouldn't you feel a whole lot more comfortable as a 2 seed playing whoever that 6 seed is or 7 seed
absolutely.
is? It could be the 7 seed, like playing whoever that is, as opposed to being the 3 or 4.
My point is they shouldn't be afraid to play anybody. And they'll be very close to favored against anybody. Will they beat them? I
might be afraid
to
play Cleveland. I might be afraid to play Joe Flacco.
I would be afraid to play Cleveland if it were me and I'm watching this. I'm saying the Chiefs shouldn't be in the mindset of an underdog ever. And I don't think they will be on paper unless they're maybe going to Baltimore. But we'll see. We're going to pick the Chiefs and the Bengals coming up in just a few minutes. Paul Savage comes in. We'll recap a nasty week in our picks last week and get into Tim. We'll also pick those CFP games, by the way. Can't pick a national championship game, but we can pick the semifinals. We'll do it on Sports Daily when we come back.
Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Hey, sports bettors, ready for some picks destined to fail? It's time to hear what the Sports Daily staff thinks of the weekend games.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It's getting close to full pick season coming to an end. We'll have two more, I think, full slate picks, and then the number will whittle down all the way to the Super Bowl.
Right.
We welcome in our buddy Paul Savage here. Tommy Castor alongside me. I'm Jacob Albracht, Jet Chambers producing. Glad to be here with you. We'll still give away some HTO a little bit later in the program.
Good. Hey, can I tell a quick story?
Yeah, Yeah.
I went to a wedding last night, so I didn't get to see a lot of the K-State game, but I saw a bunch, and here's why. I go to a wedding. It's a football coach friend of mine, Coach Byers. You guys both know Coach Byers, and you've probably known him for years. So he's getting married. Congratulations. They have a TV, a big screen TV with the K-State game on 5 feet away from where they're getting married. So everybody that's watching the wedding is watching the K-State game while it goes on. I kid you not. Only a football coach, right? And you hear these little cheers as they're doing the wedding going on, when K-State does something good. It was the darndest thing I've ever seen. Fellas, it was great. I wish you'd have been there just to see that. That was worth going to the wedding just for that.
You got priorities.
Well,
Mr. Savage.
Well said. Priorities. That is correct. You are right.
It's a priority for me to wash clean the taste of last week. I went 2-7-1, my worst week picking. I think it was my worst week picking. Tommy, under 500 by game. Paul, you were the best of the stink, one game above 500. Hey, it gets you 2 games closer to me overall. I'm 81, 72, and 7, making money. Paul, 79, 74, and 7, making money. Tommy, almost breaking even, 76, 77, and 7 overall. We picked a ton of games. We're all faring fairly well. And we got 10 more to pick this week. Jad, hit the music. Let's do this. And we start with the Saturday game, the lone Saturday game this time. It's sort of the Monday Night Football replacement. Lions-Cowboys. Cowboys are 5.5-point favorites at home. Paul, you won the week last week. You're up first.
Glad to do it. Glad to be up first. That bodes well for me. You know something? I'm going to stick with the Cowboys. Now, you guys know I like Dan Campbell. You guys know I like his mental take on football. I like how he operates. Still a little bit old school when it comes to the NFL. There's no question about that. That's Dan Campbell. But you know something, guys? Cowboys have done fairly well for me. I mean, they haven't been perfect for me, but they've done well. I'm in the money with the Cowboys. I hate to give 5.5, but this is a game in Dallas. I'm going to go ahead and take the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys win this game, and I think they win it comfortably. Cowboys for me.
Tommy?
Man, Paul, I don't know how you were able to pick between those two teams. I mean, I know how much you love both of them.
I do.
That's a difficult decision for you. Look, we've talked about it before. It's been a pretty standard narrative that Jared Goff and the Lions don't typically play well on the road, but usually that means they don't play well when it's an outdoor game. This is on the road in Dallas, in Jerry World, in a dome. I know that the Cowboys, it's been kind of up and down for them over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to take the Lions, though. If I can get 5.5 points with the division leader and a team that looks to be one of the higher seeds in the NFC on the road at Dallas, I'll take the Lions. I think that they can cover that 5.5. It wouldn't shock me if they win either on the money line. This is about the time of year that the Cowboys kind of start to fall all over themselves a little bit. We'll see if that happens again, but I'm going to take the Lions and I'll take the 5.5.
I'm going to take the Cowboys at home in a bounce-back game. They do bounce back well most of the time. I didn't think they looked bad against the Dolphins by any means. They were in a position to potentially win that game. I think they bounce back at home. I like the Cowboys here. They're good when they're good, and I think this will be a week where they're good. Panthers, Jags. Tommy, you're up first. I put this one on here. It's a turd, but it's an unpredictable game because we don't know what's going on with the Jags. They're 6-point home favorites against the Panthers. Where are you at with this one?
The Panthers have nothing to lose at this point in their season. They've got the interim head coach. You know, they're trying to develop Bryce Young, figure out what's going on. Will he be an essential part of this team moving forward? I think all signs kind of point to, they're going to probably give him more time and try to find a new coach to really help him develop next season. The Jags, though, in spite of all of their issues over the last 3 or 4 weeks, they still find themselves in the playoff hunt, and they find themselves in a divisional race as well in the AFC South. They've got a lot more to play for. It's within that touchdown number. It's in Jacksonville. At some point, the Jags have to bounce back. I'm going to take the Jaguars, and I'll lay the 6 points.
I got to tell you, fellas, I don't know what to do with this game. Let's swing for the fences and take the points here on the road with the Panthers. You know, they can play some decent defense. I don't. This is a bet against the Jaguars. This is not a bet for the Panthers. I just don't know what's going on in Jacksonville. So 6 points seems like a lot of points. I'll take a really weird dart throw with the Panthers and would imagine that I'll get them on an island. Paul, what do you think?
Can't believe you're doing that. I'm stunned. I mean, Tommy just made a spectacular analysis of the Panthers. The Bryce Young, the whole thing going on with coaching staffs and all that. The Panthers are not good. There's a reason they're not good. 6 points isn't near enough. The Jaguars have the potential, even to this very Sunday, of being a good football team. I'm going to take the Jags. This may be one of the easiest picks of the week. I'm with Tommy. I'm taking the Jags.
All right, so that gives me that weird island. Let's get that game out of here. Colts Raiders. I'm sorry. Colts are 3.5-point favorites. I'm on the Pierce train, fellas. I'm gonna take the Raiders. I'm gonna take the points. I think their defense is playing great. I think they've got the buzz. They got the momentum. Indianapolis sort of seems to be headed a little bit in the other direction. I'm gonna take those points and see if Pierce can't win himself a job. Paul?
Well, something, you kind of hit on it, and I reflect to the game that I watched them play last week, and I think to myself, dang, that's a team that has pass rush. And you guys know how big I am. I look at a team, one of the first things I look at is the ability of a football team to put pressure on the opposing quarterback. To me, that's big. That might be one of the biggest things that I look at. And the Raiders are able to put pressure on quarterbacks for the most part. They've really got some talented guys. I'm going to take the Raiders with you. I hate to take it with you, Jacob, because I can't gain ground. But on the other hand, I'm not going to lose any ground with you either, because I think the Raiders win this game, and I think they win it fairly comfortably.
Tommy, you got a chance for an island with the Colts at home.
Did you guys watch the Raiders play on Christmas Day against the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Did you watch their offensive production after the first quarter?
I didn't bring
they
up
were absolutely terrible.
I also watched them beat Minnesota 3-0. I'm aware.
It's such a weird situation for the Raiders. I mean, and then you go and they play the Chargers and they hang like 70 points on them or something. It was like ridiculous, right? It's hard to get a handle on that. I think Antonio Pierce will be the future permanent head coach of this franchise. The Colts, on the other hand, they might be headed in the wrong direction, but they still have a winning record. They did not look good against the Falcons last week. I mean, the Falcons are a mess right now, and the Falcons decimated them in Atlanta a week ago. I think the Colts bounce back, though, at home. I'll take the island simply because of Jonathan Taylor. I don't think Gardner Minshew is that bad. I think he's okay. I think he'll be all right, and they're still in the playoff hunt. So I'll take the Colts. I'll lay the 3.5, and I'll take that island.
Raiders are still in the playoff hunt too. What do you mean? All right, let's go next to the Dolphins and the Ravens. This is one of the headline games of the week, of course. Tommy, I think you're up first on this one. Ravens 3-point favorites. You're going to have a hard time. You love both of these teams, so now you're going to have the hard time.
I do.
Ravens
it's
-3 at home.
I've been higher up on both of these teams basically all season long. And, man, it's going to be difficult. But I'll tell you what the deciding factor is for me on this, is that there's a question about whether or not Jalen Waddle will play for the Dolphins. As much as I like the Dolphins, I really, really do. If you don't have that other threat opposite of Tyreek Hill, that's going to be challenging. I think from top to bottom, the Ravens are a better football team than the Dolphins are. I think this is the game that Lamar Jackson solidifies his MVP candidacy for this season. I'm going to take Baltimore. I'll lay the 3 points.
I am too. I'll take the Ravens here. I have been higher on the Ravens than the Dolphins. Jalen Waddle's not playing in this game. The Dolphins did finally get their big win against the Cowboys. Now they've got to go on the road and try to do it again. I don't think they will. I'll take the Ravens here, and I'll lay those points. Paul, Dolphins Island sitting there waiting for you.
I'll tell you what, guys, you kind of are making my morning. If I take the Dolphins, that's the first, let's see, what is that? That's the first 3 games. We have islands. The 4th game becomes an island as well. Tommy's got 2 islands already. Unbelievable. But here's no. Jacob's got 2 islands.
No, I've got 2. I've got 2 islands.
You do. Okay. I like the Dolphins. The Dolphins can win this game, fellas. And by the way, Waddell has a double ankle sprain. I'm pretty sure he's not playing. So with that,
he's not playing. He's already been ruled out.
Oh, okay. I hadn't seen the final. Okay. But the point is that, fellas, if I ask, can the Dolphins win this game outright, what would you guys say? What would you say?
Sure they can.
Sure they can. Tommy, would you agree they can?
I wouldn't be shocked if they did.
And so you're going to give me 3 points, right? You're going to say that a team is capable of winning outright, and you're going to give me 3 points. What's the thing that a smart guy would do like me? I'm going to take the Dolphins. I'm taking this island. This is the best island of the day.
Make the right pick is what a smart guy would do. All right, I'll go to the next one. I think you're up first. You are up first on this one, Paul.
All
Saints, Bucks. Bucks 2.5-point favorites at home against New Orleans in a very meaningful game there in the NFC South.
Don't care about this game. And really, this is just a game that we're going to pick. I don't care about the Saints, but I am enjoying following the Bucks to a certain extent. And because it is the Bucks, I think I'll just go ahead and take the Bucks. I really don't have a feel for this game. You guys help me out, but I got to go first. So I'm taking the Bucks. I don't know if it's the right thing to do. I don't have a feel for this game.
Tommy?
I'm looking something up here very quickly about the Bucks. Did you know that you can get the Buccaneers on the futures market as 61 or 65-1 odds to win the Super Bowl this year? I don't think that it's likely at all that they make a Super Bowl run. But man, the way they played lately and the way Baker Mayfield has rejuvenated his career, it looks like they're probably going to win that division. This is a divisional game. Divisional games get wacky all the time. But the way Baker has been playing, man, I think that they could easily at least win one game, if not more, in the playoffs. I'm high on Baker. I have been for a while.
You have been.
I'm going to take the Bucks.
Don't blame
I'll
you.
lay the 2.5.
Don't blame you.
No, Bucks, baby. Get on that bake train. No choice. You got to take the Bucks here. Bucks look good. The Saints don't. Bucks have everything going their direction. Go Bucks.
Do you know that the Buccaneers have better odds right now to win a Super Bowl than the Rams do? How do you feel about that?
The Rams
Jacob?
Rams are my long. I've already got money on the Rams. I got them at 80-1. I don't know what they are right now, but I already I took that
70-1.
Yeah, they've been my favorite long shot play for a week. And the Bucks are not bad. Look, the Bucks aren't bad either. I like the Bucks. I like what Baker Mayfield's doing. All right, Titans Texans. It looks like C.J. Stroud is going to play.
Yes, that's right.
So the Texans become then 4-point favorites against the Titans. I think that Will Levis is also going to play. Boy, I'm having a hard time with this one. I will reluctantly lay the points here with the Texans. And I mean, it's close. I don't want to do it. I got to see C.J. Stroud after the injury. We know he doesn't have Tank Dell. Derrick Henry did not in the last time they play shred them like he typically does, but his history against the Texans is wild. I'm going to take Houston. They've got a little more to play for. I don't love it, but I'll do it. That's where I'm at. Paul, what do you think?
Well, by the way, is this just because you're a Texas guy at heart? I mean, is there a little bit of emotion?
No,
You-
absolutely not.
Okay.
I don't care about the Texans.
I was just curious, but I kind of like the Texans too with C.J. Stroud, but not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso would say. The Titans are still a very, very good football team, and you're going to give them 4 points. I think those 4 points are because of C.J. Stroud. Would you guys not agree with that? I think that would be the case.
Yeah, if he's not playing, it's probably close to a pick'em game.
That's right. And for that matter, you're going to give me 4 points. Now, I know the Titans got to go on the road for this game, but I'll tell you what, something's telling me inside, take the Titans. Now, my head is saying take the Texans, just like you, Jacob. My head is saying Texans. My heart is saying Titans. I'm going with the Titans because I am, if nothing else, a romantic guy.
Oh, that's an interesting visual there, Tommy.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Okay,
look.
answer.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so it's been rough for the Titans lately, especially with C.J. Stroud going down with the injury. They looked awful against the Jets a couple of weeks ago when Stroud got hurt. They barely beat the Titans the last time they played. It was an overtime game in Tennessee. That was without C.J. Stroud. That was with Davis Mills. And then between Davis Mills and Case Keenum a week ago against the Browns, that didn't look very good for them either. But Stroud looks like he's back. Nico Collins is back healthy, so one of his big weapons is available, it looks like. Devin Singletary has quietly put together one of the best years for a running back in the NFL this season. So because of all of that, because they beat the Titans a couple of weeks ago in Tennessee when C.J. Stroud was out, I'll go ahead and take the Texans. I'm going to lay those points. They do have more to play for right now. I'll give Paul that island with the Titans.
All right, Seahawks, Steelers. This is another one I think that's really hard to pick. Seahawks are 3.5-point favorites against Mason Rudolph and the Steelers. So the new offensive regime seems to be perfectly willing to let Rudolph let it fly a little bit. But hey, we're not playing on Christmas Eve this time, Rudolph. Sorry, the magic's out. And I'm going to take Seattle. I'll take the Seahawks, who I think are getting a little healthier defensively. And Rudolph's run is going to be done here in Seattle. I'll take the Seahawks and I'll lay the points.
I'm not going to give up on Mason Rudolph. And it's not even really because of Mason Rudolph. It's because of George Pickens. It's because of Deontay Johnson. It's because of Najee Harris. And it's because of TJ Watt in the defense. And, of course, Mike Tomlin. The Steelers have got it figured out a little bit. There was a lot of dysfunction in that organization as recently as a couple of weeks ago, but they've kind of quieted that. Mike Tomlin is a master at riding the ship. I don't think they're a juggernaut by any means, but I do think that they have figured out how it works with this team moving forward, and they looked outstanding against the Bengals a week ago. I'll take the Steelers. If I'm going to get points on that, I'll take the 3.5. It's nothing against the Seahawks. I think they're a fine team, and Geno Smith is back healthy, and that's great. But I think the Steelers have something figured out in kind of knowing how they want to operate towards the end of this season. So I'll take the Steelers, and I'll take that 3.5.
Paul, you're going to give somebody an island here.
I'm going to give someone an island. And by the way, it took a long time for the name Geno Smith to come up. And I guess that's how I look at this particular game. I mean, I know what all is going on with the Steelers and a lot of things going on with the Seahawks. I know you mentioned their pass rush is getting better, at least incrementally. But Geno Smith is the key to me on this particular game. Does he play well? Does he not play well? I think the Steelers will have something to say about pressuring him, getting him out of the pocket, making him uncomfortable, making him throw passes before he wants to pass, not being able to check down the way he wants. There's a lot of things that I read into this that make me feel that the Steelers are the better pick because Geno Smith played well at times last week. But I'll tell you what, it's the Steelers that are more impressive overall as a team. And for that reason, I've got to take the Steelers. Although I think this will be a fun, competitive game, I'm taking the Steelers.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game, too. The home island here against Mason Rudolph doesn't sound too bad to me. All right, Chiefs. Bengals, our last football pick, NFL pick, I should say. Chiefs -7. Paul, you're up first, I believe. So Chiefs -7, Bengals. Go for it.
Thanks a lot for that. This is so frustrating because right now, it wasn't but 2 months ago we thought that the Chiefs were a lock-in for the Super Bowl and could be one of the great dynasties in the NFL in a long, long time. But boy, that's left the building. I don't know what to do with this. Chiefs -7 to the Bengals, and it's the Bengals and it's still only -7. I guess I've taken the Chiefs. It's frustration for me right now because I think there's so many things that the Chiefs aren't doing well, and it's obvious to all of us. I'm not going to run down a list of them, but okay. I'll take the Chiefs.
Oh, I'm taking the Chiefs here. I think the Bengals are.
Are you not frustrated? Are you not frustrated, though?
Of course, sure. It's a bet on the Chiefs. It's a bet on the Chiefs defense. I think the Bengals are going to struggle offensively.
All right.
I think Jake Browning will turn the ball over, and I think the Chiefs will be. I think they'll be good in this game defensively. How good they are offensively, I have no idea, but I think the defense can play good enough to give them a touchdown win. Tommy,
I went back and I looked at the number of times that I've picked Chiefs games this season and been wrong. I can never get a feel on it. It's like I pick the Chiefs and they don't cover. I pick the other team and the Chiefs do cover. I just don't know. I'm tired of trying to predict it because so many of the things that the Chiefs do wrong are just unpredictable, and you just can't even imagine it. You can't predict it. There's just no way to even manifest the stupid things that they do ahead of time. It's like rock bottom. And I mentioned that the other day. I feel like where they're at right now is rock bottom. So I guess the only way to go is up. I guess. I don't know. But I can't take him. I can't take him to cover a touchdown. I just can't.
Really?
Do they win the game? Probably. I don't know. I mean, maybe by a field goal. I guess I'll take the Bengals, and I'll take the 7 points. I'll take that island.
Wow. Okay.
The reverse jinx pick. I'm a fan of the reverse jinx. I get you on that. All right, let's pick some college games, fellas. We won't get to pick the championship, but we'll pick the semifinal. Bama, Michigan, -1.5. I'm so fascinated by the fact that Michigan was public enemy number 1 for a long time, and Bama rushes in to take that mantle, and now we all hate Bama again. And boy, I feel that to the fiber of my being. There's no chance I can root for Bama in this game. Go cheaters. Go Michigan. Get it done. If you're going to cheat, do it right. Get the win. Figure it out. It'll be, probably the second to last game we see Jim Harbaugh coach at the college level, if my guess is correct. I'm going to take the Wolverines. Get Bama out of here. They don't deserve to be there. Tommy?
Don't you think that this is the kind of scenario that Nick Saban just loves? Like he's in this moment where
it's a pick from the heart
nobody wants him there. Nobody wants his team there. And then this is kind of what Saban does. I mean, like making a run to another national championship. Is it likely? Probably not, because Michigan, despite all of their issues, is really, really good. I actually think I'm more excited about these semifinal games than I will be about the actual national championship. I'm going to go with you, Jacob. I'm going to take Michigan. I'm going to lay the 1.5. But man, it wouldn't shock me one bit if Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide find a way to win and find themselves playing for another national championship. But I will take Michigan and lay the points.
I cannot wait to root for Texas or Washington to win a national championship. I can tell you that right now. Paul, we do have to pick one, though, out of this, battle of two evils here between Alabama and Michigan. Which way are you going?
Well, here's the thing. I think Michigan wins this game. This is a team that's been on a mission. This has been as good an example as you can see at the college football level of us against the world. I mean, all season long, people have been bashing Michigan, bashing their coaches, bashing the university, bashing the athletic director. This has been one of those deals. I mean, and rightfully so. I didn't say it wasn't rightfully so. I believe it is rightfully so. But I'll tell you what, it's us against the world. But guys, you're leaving me on an island, maybe with Bama?
No.
That's
you're leaving one of us on an island. Tommy took. Did you take Michigan, Tommy?
No, I took Michigan. We both took Michigan.
I thought you took Bama. Okay.
No,
you get a Bama island here, Paul? Yeah, no, you're right. You could take a Bama island.
You know something? There's been worse. I've taken worse islands than that. I mean, I have. I've taken worse islands. I'm going to take Bama. Listen, Nick Saban, you give him this amount of time to get ready to play a football game against Michigan, they'll be ready. They got athletes. They got some of the best athletes NIL will buy. I'm going to take Bama.
And did you see what Milroe said yesterday about Bill O'Brien telling him
yes, I did.
Be a quarterback?
Yeah, saw that. Saw it.
Bill O'Brien, go away. Like, get out of here. Stop having an influence on people. All right. Texas, Washington. Washington +4. Paul, I think you're going to round us out here on the first pick of this one. Longhorns, you've got a current Big 12, Pac-10, future SEC, Big 10 showdown here between the Longhorns and the Huskies. You taking 4 points in the Huskies?
Don't care. Texas is dead to me. They're gone to the SEC. I don't like them anymore. I used to have a little respect for them, but I don't like them. By the way, OU lost yesterday. Bye, OU. See you later, OU. I'm tired of you. Go away to the SEC and get your butt beat every year. See how many SEC championships you win. Bye, Texas. I don't like you anymore either, you traitors. I'm taking Washington.
Tommy?
Well, I'm not going to take Washington, but I might take Washington. Look, I've been on the Huskies bandwagon for a while now. I think Michael Penix Jr. is outstanding, and I don't think that he gets the credit that he's deserved. Everybody always talks about Bo Nix, and they talked about Jaden Daniels, of course, winning the Heisman and all of that. But Michael Penix Jr., he was in the Heisman conversation for sure, but I think he is just a better quarterback overall, and I think he's somebody that we're going to see for a long time. I think he's better than Quinn Ewers. I think we're going to see Michael Penix Jr. in the NFL for a long time. I'm going to join Paul, not because I hate Texas, but because I genuinely think that Washington is a better team. And if I'm going to get 4 points, I mean, I like Washington on the money line to win the game, but I'm going to take them to at least cover that 4.
I actually like both of these teams. I am not in the camp where I'm glad that Texas and Oklahoma are leaving at this stage of life because it allows the Big 12 to grow and move on. It's been good for the Big 12. It will allow KU and K-State a much better chance to win a Big 12 championship. So I'm I have no ill will, honestly, because I think everybody in the Big 12 will be better because of it. I think Texas is better than Washington. I love the Washington story. Guys, this is the second time they've been in the CFP. I don't know that I do know they do not get enough credit as a program for how good they've been. There aren't a lot of teams that can say they've been here twice. They have. And
Kalen DeBoer is an elite coach, by the way.
All of that said, I'm going to take Texas. I think Texas is feeling it. I think Texas has some swag. I think Texas has an absolute. Here's the thing. Everyone thinks it's going to be Michigan or Alabama. I think Texas or Washington could absolutely win a national championship. I really, 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 really hope that happens. I'm going to take Texas here. I'm going to lay the points. I think, seeing Texas back in a national championship game, and I know this will make people gag a little bit, but that feels good to me for college football. You need Texas relevant again, whether you love them or hate them, maybe for both reasons. It's much better to have another villain in there. Texas could play that role to some degree. I'll take Texas, but I can't wait to root for either one of these teams when they get to the national championship game. All right, those are the picks. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. More Sports Daily as we wrap up the year of 2023 right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. This question is quite simple. Jacob Albracht here, Sports Daily, alongside Paul Savage, Tommy Castor, Jad Chambers producing. Let's give away some HTO real quick, Jad, before we get into this. Free HTO Brewhouse coffee ×2. I'll give away 2 cards that are good for the East Wichita and Derby locations where you can get some HTO coffee, more than just the great iced tea. All the iced and coffee drinks you can imagine up. We'll give a couple of those away right now. Good luck, everybody. Call into that IHOP hotline, 869-1240, and get your hands on those free Brewhouse coffee cards. All right, guys. You wacko for Flacco? Tommy, you wacko for Flacco? I mean, this has been remarkable.
I am after last night. That was an impressive game for Joe Flacco without Amari Cooper. And we forget about that. Amari Cooper didn't play in the game last night, and Flacco still put up a ton of yards, led the team to another win. They clinched a postseason berth. And this is, don't forget, a Jets secondary that has been really, really good this year. And all Flacco did was go out there and throw for almost 300 yards in the first half. So yeah, I'm wacko for Flacco right now. It took me a little while to jump on board with that, but man, I'm right there.
300 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half against what had been the best pass defense in football. Paul, I know you're a sucker for good stories. I know you can relate to finding success at an advanced age. You got to be all in on this Flacco story, don't you?
I love it, man. This is what makes NFL what it is. I mean, it's great. I mean, this is one of those stories, guy, has a so-so career. I mean, let's face it, it's a good career. It's a good career.
You got a Super Bowl winning quarterback here.
That's right. He's had a good career. He's no Tom Brady, but he's had a good career.
Nobody in the history of football is.
I set my standards high. What can I tell you? But the point is that it's a good story. Age has something to do with it. The fact that a guy's experience has a lot to do with the success that he's had. Now, could he be a rush defensive end at this age? No, he couldn't be a rush defensive end. Could he be an offensive tackle? Nah, probably not. Maybe closer than a defensive end. But you get the point. The point is it's a great story. Guy retires. Guy comes out of retirement. Guy carries a team on his back. The franchise and the city just revolve around him, fall in love with him. Everybody's wearing Flacco t-shirts with a different message. I mean, how many messages in that game did you see from the fans with t-shirts that say love Flacco in some way? It was tremendous. That is a city and a franchise that has fallen in love with Joe Flacco. I think it's a great story. It's what makes the NFL, fellas.
Number one, Joe Flacco did not retire. He was playing last year with the Jets and was on the street unemployed, but not retired.
All right. Well,
but I think that's important to say because it's criminal that the Jets let him go, number one. It's amazing to see a team that he used to play against in his division embrace him this way. Remember, Cleveland Ravens? I mean, that's a rivalry here. He's going to get a chance against Baltimore to avenge some things. Here's the thing for me. I love the story too. I think I when I see it, I'm just like, you dummies, Jets. Like, how did you not have him back there as a backup quarterback to Aaron Rodgers? He is the
because Aaron Rodgers wanted Tim Boyle, his buddy, to be the backup. That's why. Joe Douglas, the general manager, was a Flacco guy. He's the one that brought Flacco in. But if you go back and you look, Tim Boyle was signed to the Jets because he has known Aaron Rodgers for a long time and backed him up before. That's why Tim Boyle is there, and that's why Joe Flacco was ran out of town.
I didn't know that. Okay. Either way, it's a perfect fit for Cleveland. It wouldn't have been a perfect fit in New York like it is in Cleveland. It's a perfect fit for Cleveland because he's exactly what they need. He's better than Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson was 100% healthy right now, they would not give the ball to Deshaun Watson.
That's a good point. That is an excellent point.
I don't know what happens next year. But what I do know is we've caught lightning in a bottle with this one. As football observers, he is the perfect fit for Cleveland because they have a good enough defense to just have him let it rip, which he can still do, by the way. His arm has never been in question. We talked a lot about Flacco last night, over the air with people all across the country on CBS Sports Radio. And everyone kept saying he's old, he can't move. And I'm like, have you watched him play? He's moving great. Like he's flinging around in that pocket. He looks great to me. And the thing is, yeah, he's going to throw interceptions, but Cleveland needs a gunslinger. We've seen that stale offense with Watson and all the other cast of characters that are too afraid to take a risk and make mistakes. And then Flacco comes in. He's like, hey, I got Amari Cooper, Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver. We brought in Elijah Moore here to be good. David Njoku, he's as talented physically as any tight end in football. Let's let it rip, baby. Cleveland did what they did last night offensively. 30 points against what had been one of the best defenses in football,
right?
With their fourth starting quarterback, their backup running back, their backup left tackle, their third string right tackle, and without Amari Cooper in that game. That's what Cleveland did last night.
Right. And here's
with Joe Flacco at quarterback.
You made the point of the show, as far as I'm concerned, with the ability to move with regards to Joe Flacco. There's a difference between being able to move and understanding how to move around in a pocket, Jacob. And you know that. There are now. Is Flacco going to be great out in the flats? Is he going to be great out in space, throwing on them? No, he's not going. That's not what he does. But I think you'd be hard pressed not to understand that he certainly has an understanding of how you move and avoid inside the pocket, which quarterbacks of his age can do. You move the right, you move the left, you step up into the pocket, step back into the pocket, move around. You might move 2 or 3 times while in the pocket. And he has a great sense for that. So I think that was a great point. There's a difference between Flacco moving and him moving in the pocket and moving out in space. Flacco's doing just what he needs to do. But that's experience, my friend. That's a guy that's had reps stepping up in the pocket, moving to the right in the pocket. He does those drills every day. He's done them his entire career. That's a great point, Jacob. It's not that he's moving well. It's that he's moving well where he needs to move. That's a great point.
The other thing to keep in mind with this Browns team, is that they've got an elite level defense. They really do. And they showed it last night against the Jets. They turned the Jets over multiple times. And I know it's Trevor Siemian, but man, like they've got a high powered playmaking explosive defense anchored by Myles Garrett. And so if they can continue to play at that high level with Joe Flacco, and keep in mind, they're kind of playing with house money, right? Like everybody counted them out when Watson went down. They've started 4 different quarterbacks this season. The first team ever to make the playoffs after starting 4 quarterbacks in one season. They're kind of playing with house money. I also think, number one, if Joe Flacco is not the comeback player of the year, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And number two, Kevin Stefanski should absolutely get the coach of the year. I don't care how things go the rest of the way. He led the Browns to back-to-back playoff berths for the very first time since Marty Schottenheimer was the coach of the Browns in the 80s. That was the last time the Cleveland Browns have made back-to-back playoff appearances. Wow. And Stefanski did it with 4 different quarterbacks.
I've had so much fun watching this team lately. The Browns fans deserve this after the Deshaun Watson fiasco. I can't wait to see if they go and win a playoff game or 2 or whatever. Can't wait to see the offseason when it's like, all right, Deshaun Watson's back, everybody.
Well, I say they're playing with house money. They don't have a whole lot of regular money because of all the money
that's right.
Playing.
That's because they don't have a
Deshaun
choice.
Watson.
They spin it all on a terrible quarterback.
Oh.
Wow. What a cool story. Breece Hall, by the way, again, good last night. It got lost in sort of the Jets. That game got away from him just a little bit early. Breece Hall was really good again. They're finally utilizing him. Thank you. Like, what have we been doing here, Jets? Like, he and Garrett Wilson are clearly the 2 best players on that roster. You got to find them some touches. The other piece of that game, like, I know that they've said Robert Saleh and everybody's safe. They better finish with some here. Or who knows?
They tried to last night. I mean, they got down big early and then sort of clawed their way back a little bit. It was never really super close, but I didn't watch a team that I felt like had just given up, that they were just done.
I don't think they've given up either.
That's not what I saw. The other thing I want to point out is that it was a really good bet yesterday to put money on the Wichita kids, on Avery Johnson and Breece Hall. I did that in both cases. And both of those bets paid off. So that was a good betting day and good performances from 2 kids from Wichita.
It was a very good betting day. And that's what happens when you get big time offensive performances like that. I mean, that's why, like, I despise sludge, just drag it out, slobber knocker type games.
What?
Because it's not good for fantasy football. It's not fun for betting football. You can laugh all you want. This is why the rule changes always favor the offense. I mean, it is. That was a fun one last night. And yeah, Wichita kids, let's go Avery Johnson and Brees Hall. How incredible is that to see the two spotlights on those two guys? Two guys we've watched play high school football here.
That's right.
I mean, Avery Johnson was like 13 months ago, but just cool stuff for us locally. All right, we'll come back. Final full segment of 2023 when we return on Sports Daily. All right, fellas, welcome back in here. Sports Daily, Shockers, Jayhawks. They got a big one coming tomorrow. I'm going to go to that game recreationally. Looking forward to it. What do we think here? Afternoon game, Wichita State gets its full cast of characters back. Wichita State gets what it's been about, feels like about 10 days to get full practices in with those guys and get DeGray and Cortez really the reps that they need to see. I think we saw more out of Cortez than we thought we would in his debut in their last game. Does Wichita State have any chance to keep this thing close / maybe pull a miracle upset against the Jayhawks tomorrow, Tommy? I just hope they can keep it close. I don't know that it's a particularly great matchup for them. But I just want the event itself to be meaningful.
I think they can keep it close. I think there is that potential. I'm not sure I'm smelling an upset, though, but I do think that they've got the potential if Kansas doesn't shoot the ball well, and if they can, if Kenny Poto locked down on Hunter Dickinson, it's easier said than done. Then you're going to force Kansas to have to try to shoot it from beyond the arc. And outside of Kevin McCullough, there really hasn't been a shooting threat for the Jayhawks. So I think that's got to be part of the strategy for Wichita State. I'm really excited for this matchup. I mean, outside of the game in the tournament a few years ago, I mean, we don't see these two teams match up against each other. I'm excited to watch Bill Self and Paul Mills face off. I think that the Shockers can make it a game. I'm not sure they can win, though.
So, Paul, we see, Missouri play KU within 9. We see Eastern Illinois play them within 8. We see Yale play them within 15. I certainly think the Shockers can keep this thing close. KU is not, putting their foot on the throats of a lot of people this season. KU's a tough matchup. KU's better. I think KU by the end of the year is going to still be close to what we thought they would be, if not there. But this is Shocker fans probably ought to be pretty excited about this opportunity, I think.
Well, and it's going to come down to shooting. And by the way, KU does have that advantage in the paint, around the paint, that kind of thing. There's no question about that. Very talented. KU's big, strong. They're very, very talented in certain areas down around the paint. But let's face it, guys, shoot the ball well, Shocker. You want to have a chance to win this game.
Neither of these teams shoot the 3 well.
But I'm just
neither
saying,
one of them.
I'm just saying Wichita State, but I'm referring to Wichita State in particular. KU does things well enough. They're big enough. They're more talented enough that they can win this game if both teams do not shoot the ball well. Wichita State, on the other hand, if you want to win, there's one way to do that. And I think there's only one way to do it, because it's not to muscle up. It's not to run. It's not to do a lot of things that you might want to do if you were in that territory of the University of Kansas. But I'm just saying, you got to shoot the ball well. You got to shoot particularly the 3. You've got to hit, if you were going to hit 50, 55, 57% of your threes, you're going to be in this game. But that's what it's going to come down to. Shoot the ball well, make the baskets that you can make, hit the open J's.
What are they averaging? They're averaging now like 30-something%, I think, from 3.
Right.
Both teams are like neither one of them shoot the ball well.
I think Wichita State can do enough to hang around and keep it competitive. My problem for them is I do think shooting the 3 is the way you're going to have to beat KU.
No question.
You're not going to get it inside with
not.
Dickinson and KJ Adams.
No, that's
and
right.
You're not going to create it off the dribble like the Shockers have been really good at this year because of Harris and McCullough, right? KU can defend you just about every way. You almost have to shoot to beat them. I think the Shockers have got to try, right? I don't think they can be timid. I think they've got to let it rip and see what happens and see if they can catch fire. Colby Rogers needs to shoot well. I don't know what kind of outside shooter Bijan Cortez is. Honestly, I really don't know. But if nothing else, he needs to be able to create enough to get shooters some open looks. They're going to have to hit more shots than they have all year. I mean, that's the reality.
The one thing that Wichita State does have, they are a deeper team than Kansas is. Now, from a talent perspective, Kansas is probably top to bottom, or definitely more talented. But from a depth perspective, Wichita State,
from the perspective of the players they're able to
the number
use.
of players they're able to play and rotate in, Wichita State has that advantage, because now you've got Ronnie DeGray, you've got Bijan Cortez that are eligible and able to play. Dalen Original He's kind of been quiet the last couple of weeks. If he can get worked in and give that spark off the bench, that's going to be big as well. If Xavier Bell and Colby Rogers can score like we've seen them do in the past, I do think hanging around is something that is possible for the Shockers in this game.
Absolutely.
But I do think we've seen it multiple times this season with the Jayhawks where they start slow. It takes them a while to get into a rhythm. And then all of a sudden they put their foot on the gas in the second half and they pull away. Will the Jayhawks cover? I just looked. I don't think that line is out yet. So I don't even know what that number is.
They usually don't come out till day of.
It's going to be hard, I think. I mean, because the Jayhawks just don't cover like we're used to seeing them cover. But I think it should be a pretty entertaining game.
It's a McCullough game to me, big time. I do think that the Shockers will be able to rebound. Well, but I mean, in the sense that the one thing Wichita State should be able to do is hang with them in the rebounding column and defend down low well. Whether they can create offense down low, I don't think so. But they should be able to defend down there. And so it looks like, to me, it looks like a McCullough game. It looks like a very on paper like McCullough versus Rogers game. So if you talk about betting it, I would look at both of those guys to go over their points. All right. You'll have the Wichita State call on that this weekend. We'll tell you where you can find that call and everything else coming up on the networks when we return on Sports Daily.
$6.95. Get the Spangles $6.95 Classic American Meal Deal. You get a big 20-ounce Pepsi, a classic Black Angus steak burger, crispy fries, and an 8-ounce mudslide for only $6.95. $6.95. It's an entire meal at a great price. Made fresh when you order and not before. The Spangles $6.95 Classic American Meal Deal. Get one today.
Freshness made to order. Spangles, it just tastes better.
Would you like to earn up to $60,000 a year as a general manager and have advancement opportunities earning up to $100,000 as an area supervisor? Then Kansas-owned and operated Spangles is the place for you. Spangles restaurant teams make our value, quality, and freshness happen every day. So if you have previous experience and want to earn great pay, bonuses, benefits, and the opportunity for advancement, stop by any Spangles or go online at spanglesinc.com. That's spanglesinc.com.
Come join our team.
Oh, come on!
Sounds like it may be time for an upgrade. And Computer Depot has what you need. Laptops, desktops, tablets, Macs, or PCs. Computer Depot has it all and at the lowest prices. Don't trust an online retailer to offer you a low price and then send you something that doesn't meet your needs. Stop into one of the 2 Computer Depot locations in Wichita and get on-site help from experienced technicians that will hook you up with the upgrade you need and at a price that will beat Amazon. Visit ComputerDepotLLC.com for locations and hours. That's ComputerDepotLLC.com.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. Make recycling part of your holiday season. If you get a new computer, tablet, or cell phone this year, recycle your old one by selling it or donating it to charity. Otherwise, dispose of it at a proper e-waste facility. Recycle your Christmas tree by turning it into wood chips and mulch. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue. Hog Wild, get some for you.
It's $5.99 barbecue time. Hurry to Hog Wild for a complete barbecue meal that's only $5.99. Terry Caldwell, Hog Wild partner and general manager in Wichita at Maple and West Street, has all the details on this smoking deal.
Get a Hog Wild sandwich loaded with our award-winning meats like pulled pork, pulled chicken, or hot links, plus your choice of a classic side and a drink for just $5.99.
Upgrade your sandwich to beef brisket for just $1 more. Join us for lunch or dinner. You can also order online at GoHogWild.com. Hog Wild Pit Barbecue. 6 locations in Wichita. Also in Derby, El Dorado, Hutchinson, and Salina.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue. Hog Wild, get some for you. But don't be late, we close at 8.
Brought to you by South Central Kansas Problem Gambling Task Force. Sunday's Chiefs game at 3:25 p.m.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888. That's 888-8888.
Pro football, the Kansas City Chiefs in action on Sunday on New Year's Eve. Regular season home finale at Arrowhead for the Chiefs. KC hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. These teams met 11 months ago in the conference championship game. Now they meet late in the regular season. Neither one has clinched a playoff spot yet. Chiefs with a win can get their 8th straight division title and get into the postseason. They need a win on Sunday to do it. FanDuel has the Chiefs favored by a touchdown. The Chiefs and the Bengals. Mitch Holthus and the Chiefs Radio Network. Coverage begins at 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon on New Year's Eve. Kickoff at 3:25 p.m. Sunday. Listen to the Chiefs on 98.7 and 1330 KNSS. College men's basketball tomorrow. Wichita State taking on number 2 ranked Kansas. The Shockers and the Jayhawks, first regular season meeting in 31 years. At the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Tip off at 3 o'clock tomorrow on 103.7 KEYN. I'm Ted, the Sports Head.
The NBA says it has suspended Draymond indefinitely. Obviously, the commissioner did not accept Draymond's apology nor his explanation for going Draymond again and hitting Nurkic with that forearm shiver, because suspending this guy obviously is no deterrent. They suspend him all the time, and he just keeps doing the same thing over and over again. Draymond has put himself, his team, and the league in a bad position.
Jim Rome, middays from 11 until 2 on 97.5 and 1240 KFH, Wichita's most listened to sports radio.
It's our duty to tell you about the Odyssey app.
Hey, boss, is that good?
Try again. Download the free Odyssey app now.
Is that better?
No.
97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Wichita's most listened to sports radio. 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Chiefs games available live for free over on KNSS and on the Odyssey app. Tune into KNSS Sunday for NFL action. The Chiefs hosting the Bengals. Simply download the Odyssey app. Search for KNSS at kickoff. You'll have the Chiefs game there that we mentioned. You've got the Shockers-Kansas game on the Shocker Radio Network. 2 o'clock coverage begins. Cowboys-Lions Saturday night. Sunday, Chiefs, of course, Vikings-Packers on Sunday Night Football. And then on Monday, you get the Chiefs Kingdom show. We will not be here Monday. Happy New Year, everybody. Be safe this weekend. Travel safe, party safe, whatever it is you're doing. Let's get into 2024 and do it the right way. Paul, Tommy, enjoy the weekend. Happy New Year. Jad as well. I'm Jacob Albracht. We'll see you in 2024.